This episode of Nerd and Tie is sponsored by listeners like you. If you'd like to help support our legal fund, go to gofundme.com/nerdandtie, and we'll take any help you can give. Or if you want to directly sponsor an episode, go to nerdandtie.com, click on the sponsorship information either on the menu bar or on the right side of the page, and for $20, we'd read your name here. Say nice things, say weird things, say pretty much anything you'd want as long as it's not obscene or endorsing something obscene. So, unless you're Archimize, we'll still say your name, Archimize, if you gave us money.
This week on Nerd and Tie, Star Trek Discovery has a trailer, Netflix is making a Witcher TV series, MST3K is launching a 29-city tour, Great Lakes FurCon is canceled due to quote-unquote staffing issues, Space City Comic-Con rebrands themselves as Phantom Galaxy, Duke City Comic-Con owner makes misogynist remarks, reposts from private correspondence, the mailbag, and more.
Woo!
Oh.
It's a catchy theme, right?
I really like our theme song, you guys. I just want you all to know that.
It's completely produced with my voice through various filters, and then a drum beat added.
I was a drum beat once.
Once.
Only once.
It is
Never again.
technically a remix of a song written for the Bob and Giant Robot short animated things I did.
Oh. Huh. Were you Bob or were you the giant robot?
I voiced both Bob and Giant Robot. Bob
Oh, okay.
sounds like this. Giant Robot sounds like this.
This sounds about as successful as The Adventures of Jimmy and Mr. Jolas, which can be found at youtube.com/Mikazumi.
It's 3 episodes long, and Bob kills himself in episode 2. It's
Dear God. Mine just had my show just had child neglect. I don't know what your...
Okay, so this week on Nerd and Tie.
Yeah, we haven't even said our names yet. Yet.
With me as always.
Who are you?
The incredible Adam. What?
Who are you?
Well, I'm just Genjamin.
Oh, okay. We didn't hear that.
With me is the incredible, edible Nikazumi.
Now in diet flavor.
He's the one we eat when the plane crashes.
And the mysterious malfunctioning Tradarn.
I disagree. I am fully functional, and no, that's not meant to be a data quote. I say as it comes out of my mouth.
Well, speaking of that Star Trek reference ties us into our first story. Star Trek Discovery has a trailer.
Yay!
And it looks really neat. And sparkly and beautiful, and I like it.
And we finally know roughly when it's coming out. When is it coming out again?
This fall.
Which is the most concrete release we've had for a while, considering it was supposed to come out in January and then May. And we knew it was going to be ready by fall, but there was no guarantee that CBS All Access was going to put it out in fall.
This has been
I forgot to turn my light on.
This has been such an odyssey. I meant it when I said, at least now we know it's happening, because for a while there, I kind of didn't believe it.
Well, I knew there was, when the last delay was announced, there had already been on-set shots and they were shooting episodes, so something was happening. It was all just going to be a question of when. And the scary part was because, the whole, all the release dates we'd gotten before with CBS All Access were either January as, a mid-season thing or May as, a hiatus thing, but both were, time periods for testing out a new series to not compete with their big successful shows. And so putting it out in the fall is a bigger risk. And so that's why I'm really I'm happy it's happening in the fall, because that we knew it would be ready by fall. We knew it would be ready by fall with the way, because obviously with the filming and the post-production work. But now we've gotten our first look now. And what are y'all thoughts?
I like it. It's pretty.
Those are some tribal-looking Klingons.
Right?
Yeah. Now that the Klingons are let's talk about time period first. So there's a really complicated question about when this show is taking place, because it says 10 years before Kirk and 10 years before the original series has been like the quoted thing. But do they mean 10 years before Where No Man Has Gone Before, or 10 years before The Cage? Because there is a decade between those two episodes.
Right.
So if are we talking the 2240s or the 2250s? If it's the 2250s, I got an issue with those uniforms, because we know in the 2250s that they were using the turtleneck style sweaters on Federation starships. Well, they've got them in these jumpsuits, which are similar in design to the 2230s uniforms we saw in the opening of Star Trek 2009, like same color scheme. And the same kind of like the way the collar is and the line, and so it's a clear evolution from like what we see on the Kelvin in the because you have to remember the Kelvin, while what we see in Star Trek 2009 is after the Romulans come through, that the what's on the Kelvin is what would have been in the Prime timeline as well, because up until the moment that Nero's ship comes through, it was the same as the Prime timeline.
I have an issue with something on the uniforms, no matter what.
What's that?
And it's a really dorky one, but I'm gonna point it out anyway.
Is it the?
Yeah, it's the Delta arrow on everyone's uniforms, because here's the thing: when you watch the original series, that little thing that has become the logo just for all of Star Trek these days was something that only the Enterprise crew had. Every other ship had their own distinctive little logo there. Now,
and it was the 2270s when that became the logo for all of Starfleet.
Now, I guess we've kind of gotten that retcon that has been the general Starfleet logo, because the Kelvin did the same damn thing.
Well, okay, so the Kelvin's insignia is hollow, and so the canonical logo, like for the Kelvin, was the hollow Delta, and it makes perfect sense that Starfleet would reuse a logo for a ship once the classes, because the Kelvin was a single nacelled, much slower ship from the 2230s, and that it wouldn't be in service when the Enterprise in the Prime timeline was built in the 2240s, because the late 2240s is when it was built, and then Robert April, I think it was 2248, somewhere in that range, Robert April took his 5-year mission out, and then Pike's 5-year mission started in the mid-2250s, his first one, and Pike had 2 5-year missions that led up to Kirk taking over the ship. And then Kirk was the 3rd captain of the Enterprise, canonically, of the Enterprise NCC 1701. And he was the 2260s through, Decker had it for 5 minutes, but
well, because this is taking place before the insignia became for all of Starfleet, wouldn't
right?
It makes sense that this is kind of weird,
right? No, they're gonna have to retcon some stuff now. Yeah. The only thing I can think of is that maybe they're going to retcon it where there was only a brief moment where every starship had its own logo in history, and the Enterprise kept the Delta because it was the flagship, because it was, as the Enterprise was the flagship throughout the original series. So,
true facts.
So I mean that's how I would retcon it if they just want to be able to put that little swoosh, because even when in Enterprise, when the Defiant from the Prime universe ended up in the Mirror universe's past, those uniforms all had that different logo on it for the not the Defiant class Defiant, but the Constitution class Defiant, from that was disappeared during the Tholian web in the original series, and then went through to enter the Mirror universe timeline at the Enterprise time period, is where it was phasing through to. They made sure that the Defiant had its own insignia in that episode. They were very good about canon in that one. But so this is what my theory is, that they're going to and they're just going to retcon it, where the period of time where every ship had its own insignia will be the will be the original series time period only. And actually, that makes more sense than having everybody adopt the Enterprise's logo. If it was just that the Enterprise got considered special for a few years instead of everyone going, hey, let's make our entire fleet look like James Kirk's ship because he's cool, which is really what happened. That was the old canon. So,
good God.
I'm just saying. I will say I like the uniforms because I don't remember, they're doing like gold, beige, and silver as like the side things, which line up with like the gold, beige, and blue for the divisions in the 2250s style uniforms from that were in use from the 2250s through the mid 2260s, because Kirk's wearing those in Where No Man Has Gone Before. In real life because of just reusing the pilot costumes and the second pilot, but in canonical reasons because of
because of this, that, and the other thing.
So,
we are though once again left with another Star Trek prequel where we just have to accept that clothing, insides of ships, and pretty much everything were just made to look so much nicer for several.
So years. I've seen now if it's the 22. So if it's the 2250s, I have issue with the uniforms because we're literally at so if it's 10 years before the first, where no man has gone before, for 10 years before that, then everyone should be in the cage sweaters. Right? But they're in these jumpsuits, which now if it's the 2240s, I'm on board. I'm 100% there. That's a good middle ground uniform between the 2230s and 2240 and 2250s. You know what I mean? But if we're in the 2250s, they better explain why two different ships flying around at the same time in the same military have completely different uniforms when they fall into the same mission category. And again, why the Discovery is supposed to be so high tech if the Enterprise is flying around. Literally, if a Constitution-class starship is flying around. So I'm hoping 2240s. 2240s, everything makes sense. 2250s, it doesn't. I've heard some people complain about the fact that the view screen window is a window because, that's so, all Kelvin timeline, except the Kelvin also had that, and that was in the prime timeline, so if we're talking 2240s and it's 10 years later after the Kelvin, yeah, of course. That makes sense.
Unless the Kelvin timeline stuff that we saw was some sort of, time distortion ripple effect, like what pretty much happens in the DC universe every time a speedster screws things up, and then things that happen both before and after the incursion get messed up.
But that's not the way they've shown it works in Star Trek universe, repeatedly.
The Reverse Flash has his ways, Trey. The Reverse Flash has his ways.
But I'm just saying. I'm saying the glass window makes sense in the prime timeline if it is, within that time period. So now we know that they're supposed.
You're right. It wouldn't make sense anyway for them to cross over with DC because there were a lot of Star Trek Marvel crossovers, but certainly not DC. If anything, Kang the Conqueror would be the actual problematic time traveler.
Didn't DC have the Star Trek license for a while though? I think I have some DC Star Trek comics.
They might have.
I think I have some DC Star Trek comics from the 90s.
I just remember the X-Men Star Trek
I want to get back to Discovery.
Sorry.
All right. So, other thing that we got to talk about the Klingons.
I am really curious what their ships look like. I know that's another dorky thing that Nick gets excited for, but these are really awfully weird looking Klingons. Even by any standard, they're kind of weird looking Klingons.
Well, you know what? If you put hair on them, actually, they wouldn't look that different from the next gen Klingons.
Okay, that's fair.
It's they're a little different, but frankly, there's it's the question is that how did these guys get away from the augment virus when clearly that wouldn't be dealt with for another until the 2270s. Okay, so we know that in the 2270s is when we first see Klingons with the ridged foreheads, and that's Star Trek the motion picture. Yeah, there's 10 years between the motion picture in Wrath of Khan. In case
Right.
everyone's like, oh, that uniform, they just used it really briefly and then they went away. And I'm like, well, but there's a decade between movies, so we don't know when the change happened. Well, we know 2278 is when they were using the Wrath of Khan uniform from when another ship is from. Okay, I shouldn't know that off the top of my head. But anyways, there's evidence to say that the original series uniform were the short-lived uniforms. But which is only funny because it's the uniform most associated with the franchise. But so the Klingons are clearly not affected by the augment virus. Now, there is a theory that like we have to figure out how we're gonna justify that.
Then we don't. The thing is, we don't know that their heads are. I'm really reaching on this one, but like, how interesting or creepy would it be if these are like these like old school Klingon zealots who don't like the whole having their foreheads misshapen by the cure for the augment virus, so that they went old school and just straight up scarified themselves, because that would be Yu Zong Vong-esque, but also sounds pretty Klingon. I mean, if they're really hardcore.
I can give you that. And I mean, and it is true that we don't have evidence that all Klingons were affected by the augment virus.
Also true.
And, there's racial diversity within every other species in the universe, so why wouldn't there be differences between Klingons? Like, because at least, like, we know they're, like, Vulcans have the same range of skin tones that we do. Why do Klingons all have to look and Klingons clearly have very different, based on where they're from, different ridge styles. Mostly because art designers and makeup designers who work for Star Trek were never consistent in making sure that like two relatives would have similar ridges in Star Trek. They just all kind of went, this looks cool. I'll carve that out of clay and take a mold.
Klingons are like ruffles. They have ridges. It doesn't matter what kind. Sorry.
Man. It's so I'm just saying I got issues.
And to the rest of us who are not so deep into Star Trek, it all looked pretty. It all looked real pretty, and I enjoyed the diversity of cast.
Yeah, holy crap!
I want to point out though that for a trailer for Star Trek Discovery, you know what we didn't see anything of?
Discovery.
The USS Discovery. Because Michelle Yeoh is playing the captain of a different ship. We know this. Like, from all their casting announcements, they've made it very clear, because it was often misreported at the beginning that Michelle Yeoh was playing the captain of the Discovery, and CBS went, no, she's not. She's playing the captain of this other ship, but it sure looked like that's not the Discovery. The starship we see fly in there is clearly not the Discovery, and it is clearly something bad is going to happen to this ship. Now Brian Fuller said when he was they were writing the plot that part of the season was going to center around a piece of Starfleet, the Federation history that's been talked about a lot but never seen. But he has specifically said it's not the Kobayashi Maru, if that was ever based on a real thing. There's a list of stuff he's denied. You know what he hasn't denied? The massacre at Tarsus 4, which happened in the mid-2240s. And a 13-year-old Kirk was physically was at.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, 13-year-old Kirk, yeah.
Well, that could be a setup for some really interesting stuff.
Definitely.
But I'm just like, what's going to happen to the starship that we see in that thing? Because we got Doug Jones' character saying that he's sensing death. We know this isn't the starship that they're going to end up on. That we know our main character is going to be the XO of the Discovery, but she's XO of a different starship at the beginning. And a lot of people are. I think this starship we see in the trailer, I'm just putting it out there. It's going to go boom.
The main ship never gets destroyed in Star Trek, Trey.
Right.
I don't know what you're talking
This isn't
about.
the main ship.
Well, the ship our heroes are on never gets destroyed in Star Trek. God, it's not like it happened to the Enterprise in both timelines and several of the other Enterprises, and amazingly the Voyager several times.
I was going to say, Voyager blew up at least like twice a season in the later years.
Voyager blew up, take a drink.
Does it count when the demon ship dissolves?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm counting it.
Oh, you're counting that.
I'm going to say this. This is... Star Trek has been...
let me tell you how much of a nerd I am. I figured out that demon ship episode, like the twist in that episode, before the opening theme because I counted the pips on Tom Paris's collar. I was like... He got demoted 3 episodes ago. Why is he still wearing his lieutenant pips? This isn't Voyager.
I'm going to say one more thing about costume design, and that is that Star Trek is kind of driving me nuts in a good way in terms of costume design as of late, because there are so many outfits from recent Star Trek things that I want to make. They just drive me nuts. I want to make Kirk's dress uniform from Beyond. I want to do Spock's old school Franklin uniform also from Beyond. These uniforms look like the shiz, just to be honest with you guys. I want to make more Star Trek uniforms now. I'm mostly good with this. Damn it.
I just want like a pilot era sweater because that's about the best looking uniform for a fat guy like me.
I still like the turtlenecks.
I like the turtlenecks. That's why I want one.
They're fun. Oh, and of course the perennial Star Trek uniform that I want, but I don't have the patience to make or the money to buy, which is the Wrath of Khan Onward red uniform.
Oh yeah, no, it's which again was first introduced in 2278. We know at least as the earliest dates, and ran through at least the era of the Enterprise C. That's the longest running uniform in Starfleet history, as far as I can tell.
It's the best one.
That's because that's the one they had spares laying around whenever they needed to do a time travel episode. That's really what it is. It's, hey, we need to have a ship from the past. Grab some of the movie uniforms that are just sitting over there. Oh, we need to make it look different. Take the belt off. We'll say the Enterprise C just didn't wear the belts.
Not wrong.
Maybe I brought out which detail they altered, but it was always stuff like that. I mean, and...
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah.
God, I remember DS9, they had to have a new ship show up, and it was literally just the model for the Enterprise D upside down. I don't remember the episode, but I was like, oh. Yep.
Well, the Nebula class was kit bashed from Enterprise model parts.
No, but it wasn't a Nebula. It was just a straight up upside down Enterprise D.
Are you in Deep Space Nine?
I could have sworn.
Well, I mean the Akira class looks a lot like, but you know that can't be what you're talking about.
No. I know what
I know you know what an Akira class is. I have somewhere that is. Oh, here we
go. Oh, Star Trek.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm gonna say though the same thing that I've said before, which is that I'm excited for this show, but it's gonna be a real bummer waiting for the whole season to be up on CBS All Access, so I can subscribe to that for a month.
There are a lot of variant class Starfleet ships from the Dominion War, which were just parts from other starships slapped together that ended up getting featured in those battles, but they documented most of them in the back of the manual here.
I was documented once.
Once.
In the front of the manual.
I mean, I guess the Norway class could look a little bit like an upside-down D.
You're a Norway class. Anyway, we should probably move forward.
I mean, in Star Trek Next Generation, they would just slap on an Excelsior class ship and use the same model shot.
I love the Excelsior class. It's beautiful. It's perfect. Anyway, we should probably move forward, though. Long story short, I'm just happy that there is proof that this thing is actually going to happen, because I was losing faith. I'm going to be honest. I was losing faith.
Yeah.
So, speaking of TV shows on streaming services...
Hey-oh!
Hey-oh, that's a really bad transition. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. So, Netflix has been optioned with... and has decided to go forward with making a TV series based on the Witcher series. Now, by the Witcher
novels.
Series...
No, keep going.
Yes.
Sorry, I mean to interrupt
that's
you.
what I was getting at.
Yeah, I realized that. Sorry.
That's what I'm getting at. Now, by the Witcher series, a lot of you are going to start thinking of the enormously popular Project Red video games that I know our old buddy Arkhamize definitely would have a few things to say about. But we're not talking about it based on those ever more popular video games. We're talking about the novel series, The Witcher, which the games are also based on.
Are you going to try to say the author's name? You going to try to say that Polish guy's name?
I can try. Honestly, I didn't have it in front of me. Andrzej Sapkowski. Sapkowski. I'm from Plover. I should know this.
You're from Plover?
Andrzej Sapkowski.
Well, originally I was from Madison, but I lived in Plover for several years. So
yeah, we have a crap ton of Polish up here.
I'm the only Am I the only person on this show who's never lived in Plover?
Yes.
Wow.
We have St. Bronislava here. Like
that was where my dad used to work. That was why I was in.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
literally why.
I live down the road from that thing.
I know you live down the road from St. Bronislava, which also means you live down the road from the apartment my family used to live in when I lived in Plover, which was really weird when I went to visit you. By the way,
I'm sorry.
Super duper weird.
So, anyways, The Witcher.
Written by Andrzej Sapkowski.
So yeah, the Witcher. It's like a medieval noir kind of detective, sort of fantasy story. But that's the thing is this is again based on the novels, not based on the game, and I think that's going to cause a bit of confusion for a lot of people who are very enthusiastic.
Well, I don't think it will because, I mean, obviously they're based off the same source material, and clearly the whole reason why Netflix is just going straight to the author here is because they don't have to pay CD Projekt Red.
Right.
Just like all the Lord of the Rings video games that didn't have anything to do with the movie. Then went back to the novel. Thomas Baginski, who who directed the opening cutscenes for the video games, will be directing at least one episode per season of this new show.
Oh, okay.
So they're like CD Projekt Red is not involved in this series at all, but they know who they're making the show for the American audience. They know that the exposure that most Americans' exposure to the Witcher series is through the video game series. It's the original novels are massively popular in Eastern Europe. This is a huge deal. There's actually been a Witcher TV series before. They came out in 2002 in Polish. You know, if you spoke Polish, you could watch a 13-episode series. And
it's a pretty solid piece of Polish television, I'm told.
It's a pretty bad. So actually, in 2000, so they shot that. So the fun thing with the Witcher TV series, also known as the Hexer, because before the video games there were two different ways to say that in English. The thing about that series is that they shot the whole thing, they made it, And the year before they aired it on television, they chopped up a bunch of it and made a movie out of scenes from the TV series that is supposed to be abysmal. That came out in 2001. And then
I'm almost surprised New Mystery Science Theater hasn't looked for that.
And then they released the full series as a series. Is actually supposed to be okay for, I mean, I guess a Polish fantasy series. I don't know. I've never watched it.
That's not a glowing endorsement.
It's 13 episodes long. But yeah, it's important to remember that Sapkowski, he's actually going to make money off of this, where he doesn't make any money off the video games. So, yay! I don't know. I think this is going to be interesting because obviously most Americans are only exposed to the series from the video games.
Yeah.
I don't know. Listeners, write us. Tell us if we're wrong. Go to nerdandtie.com/contact. If you've read the Witcher books and you're a listener of Nerd and Tie and you're American, because I don't know, maybe we've got Polish fans we don't know about, and then obviously everything would go out the window because I'm assuming Polish fantasy readers have read this.
Shout out to all our Polish fans.
So if you're an American, if you read the Witcher series, or if you think a lot of people have read this series in America, correct us. Tell us. Because I don't know of, I don't think that there is that this is that series is a big deal in the literary world here, as opposed to, I mean, the video game world. Obviously, The Witcher has been quite successful.
Oh yeah.
For CD Projekt Red,
right?
Who has CD in their name. So it's important because we don't want to. It's important not to confuse CD Projekt Red with Project Red, because Nick called them Project Red earlier. But if you buy games from them, it's not going towards charity.
Oh dear, my bad.
Yeah. And also that means they have nothing to do with the red iPhone case you bought. Woof. So yeah, The Witcher.
The Witcher. The Witcher indeed.
The Witchering. All these things can
looking forward to checking that out on Netflix.
Yeah, and it's good to see things spread around, get everywhere. You know what else is going everywhere?
Oh boy.
It's high, just full speed into that transition.
That sure was a transition.
That sure was. So, as many of us are fans of the rebooted MST3K, it's frankly been phenomenal. Joel Hodgson took to the interwebs, I think it was last week, and announced that they're going to do a 29-city live tour of MST3K. Nice. That's right. All the stars are going to be there. Jonah Ray, Hampton Yount, Baron Vaughn will all be appearing live on stage and riffing movies. Patton Oswalt and Felicia Day's segments are going to be pre-recorded and put up on screen, but they're effectively going to be doing live episodes of the show. They're doing 2 different movies. The first is going to be a brand new riff of Ega, which is why this is being called the Watch Out for Snakes tour. Being cool. The origin of that riff is from the original riff of Ega. And then they're doing a second show, which is a secret surprise film that they won't be revealing, that they're keeping under their hats. And it's 29 cities. They're going all over the country. If this is really successful, they're going to do more. Tickets are available right now on mst3k.com. I don't know how much. I don't know how much actual tickets will cost because I'm not looking at that.
I have to say, yeah, it was outside. It was announced, and I was like, that is really cool. There's no way I can afford to go, but I'm really glad it's happening.
Well, yeah, because they're gonna have shows in Milwaukee. I know they've got some in Chicago. I know they've got some in Green Bay. I know they've got some in the Twin Cities. So it's not like none of them are in driving distance, Nick.
Well, no, it's not that it's not in driving distance. It's more just, having.
I randomly picked a show, and the only tickets available at the show I picked off the list for like upper mezzanine possible view obstructed. Like for one of the New York shows. It's
sad day.
well, you know, it's New York. Let's take a look at
Sad
something later in the tour. In a Midwestern city. Like if I go and I click on because they're going to do Pabst Theater in Milwaukee. Oh, that would be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like you're looking at like $40.
Okay. That's not bad. That's
No.
not bad at all, actually.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there are like fancier tickets where you get more stuff. But yeah, no, it's like I can't afford to do this. I'm, you know, I want to.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling.
I've spent like $130 on MST3K this year. I can't afford more. But if you can go. It looks outstanding. It looks neat. It looks cool. It looks like that sort of thing that you're going to go and say, "Hey, I was at that thing and did that thing with those people." And it was amazing.
It's pretty exciting. You should go do it.
So yeah, if you've got the money and
if you've got the money, do it.
Do it. Just do it.
Thing.
Do it. Come on, do it.
Honestly, so this whole thing sounds incredible, and I am jealous of anybody who gets to go.
I'm sort of jealous. Only sort of. Except for you. You know who you are. Dave.
We have a problem with my brother. He's probably not going.
Not your brother, Dave. The other Dave.
Corfan?
The Daviest Dave. No, not that Dave either.
Corfan actually listens to the show.
I know. But he's not the one. He'll know if he's the one.
The late
Corfan,
Dave Thomas?
You know you're not the one. The one who knows. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, he knows. He knows.
The living Dave Thomas? The actor?
Former SCTV star Dave Thomas? Yes, him.
Well, so you're directly talking to actor and former member of SCTV Dave Thomas.
Yes. It's on, like Donkey Kong.
Now you're talking to Donkey Kong?
Yeah. Bring it on, Kong. That really is your name.
The dad or Donkey Kong Jr., because, I mean, like, you got to think, I think in continuity, the one you play in Donkey Kong Country is Donkey Kong Jr. from the original arcade games. You know, the canon of Mario and Donkey Kong is really complex. There's an interesting theory that the Mario in the original Donkey Kong is actually the Super Mario Brothers Mario's father.
My God, that'd be insane. I believe it.
Yeah.
That's one of the fan theories, because it's really hard to make Mario's timeline really make sense. And that is his canonical name, by the way.
I know it's his canonical name.
Mario Jumpman Mario, yeah.
Well, it's important because for a long time that was only canonical to the movie.
The live action film, yes.
But it is official that their names are Mario and Luigi Mario, and that's why they're the Mario brothers.
Yep.
What?
Yeah, that's
and the whole reason why that it's Mario is that they thought it was funny. Once they heard that reference, once the guys at Nintendo heard that reference in the movie, they're like, that would be a hilarious name if his name Mario. I think the comparison was like someone being named Yamada. Like they're like, that's great. So
I hate everything right now. Not everything, just most things.
Just, share a Coke with Gorak.
Yeah, share a Coke with Gorak.
Share a Coke with Gorak.
Go to your local convenience store and tell me if you find a Coke bottle that says "Share a Coke with Gorak," so people stop thinking I'm insane. Because I'm sure I saw a bottle that said "Share a Coke with Gorak."
Nick thinks he saw this. I think Nick was having a stroke.
I was not having
Canonically,
a stroke.
Nick had a stroke. Check the Mario Brothers canon.
I love how you say this time.
This time.
Like I was not having a stroke this time.
Other
Last time
times,
though.
Last time maybe, but this time?
No.
No.
Oh God, we should move on to convention news.
This is
We are
getting
going
stupid.
strange.
Ken, take us to convention news. It's gonna get weirder.
Convention news is also going to strange, well, unfortunate places. In convention news, Great Lakes FurCon has canceled their event due to quote-unquote staffing issues.
Lies.
They were originally slated to take place on May 26th through the 28th in Holland, Michigan.
So next
but
weekend.
the event has been canceled, and organizers on the official website and the Facebook page said that it was due to staffing issues that was as the main reason that they couldn't make the con happen. But with a little bit of digging,
and not much,
we were able to find that it was actually more financial issues.
Of course.
Yeah, so this one's really funny. So because the staffing issues makes no frickin' sense. Because, and I want to be clear, when the con was asked, do you just need more volunteers? And people, a lot of people said they would volunteer to work the con. So no, it's not volunteer. Volunteers aren't the main problem. Is we need real full-time staffers and things like that. But I'm just you knew that 6 months ago,
right?
If that was the case, you knew that 6 months ago. So none of this and so we talk about finding out that it was confirmation that it was financial issues. So there is I know a lot of us don't use Telegraph, but do you guys, either of you use Telegraph?
No.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a messaging app. I've found in my experience that I keep encountering it when I do when we write stories about the furry con scene. So I think the furry community must use it way more than the rest of us geeks. And maybe I'm wrong.
Seems legit.
Again, if I'm wrong about that, go ahead and correct us in, again, nerdandtie.com/contact. But anyways, so these are chats you can join. I had to have this explained to me by one of the people I was talking to while researching the story, because I had I was you have to understand, I know nothing about Telegraph. So this is a kind of a public chat that anyone can join for Michigan area furs, okay, for furries. And so Shooter Illusion is the name of the user, and we've confirmed this is the guest liaison for Great Lakes FurCon. Said so the official line is that staffing issues, not volunteers, but full-time staffers, people at high-level command positions. This is the problem. Shooter Illusion posted, there are many reasons why we canceled it. There are only few of us left, and we haven't had many volunteers to tell the truth. So he's going to volunteers, which is money was also an issue, is the second statement right in there. Money was also an issue. Unlike almost every other con, we did not have sponsors to help us fund the con. I'm going to get to that. It all came from our pockets. Anthro, Ohio is also muscling us out of our date. They made the decision to hop on our date last year and do it again next year. Okay, so when we talk about the accusations of Anthro, Ohio, I did some research. Anthro, Ohio announced their date for this year prior to Great Lakes FurCon signing their date, so I don't know how they can throw that at Anthro, Ohio. And yeah, you know what? There are situations where you got to move around, conventions that are stayed away sometimes end up on the same weekend, or sometimes have to fed around the dates because hotels are a mess. But let's talk about this thing. So money was also an issue. And him saying that, like, he brings up sponsors, and first off, most cons do not use sponsors as a primary funding source remotely.
No.
They're a nice bonus, but yeah.
But I've worked cons for a really long time, and I think the most, like, I don't think, like, I'm a returning staffer to No Brand Con now, but I've been involved in No Brand Con for a really long time. I don't think No Brand Con ever got more than $1,000 out of total sponsorship. Like, and this was a con going into its 4th year, and they didn't have a sustainable business model at this point, and they didn't know how to make one. Like, it's clearly the money was the issue, right? Like, I've heard some reports about impropriety from former. I talked to a bunch of former staffers for Great Lakes FurCon while researching this article, and nobody has any proof of any financial wrongdoings. But the picture they painted wasn't necessarily any maliciousness, but none of these guys really are competent at managing stuff. That's really the picture. So, like, these guys do not know how to handle money remotely. And so, like, I don't think anybody is accusing anyone of, like, doing anything like theft or anything like that. I don't think that it's it at all. But I'm like, to blame not having sponsors, like some other, like, dude, nobody's con is run off of sponsors. Like, maybe 2 people's cons are run off of sponsors in the Midwest. Everybody else is just, like, plugging along, you know? And 4 years in, if you're not, like, that's nobody's fault but yours at this point, you know?
Yeah.
And also the Shooter Illusion went on to say that, like, it's all about, like, they had not paid their hotel yet. Their hotel was asking for a down payment. They were asking for $6,000 before the con. Look, I'm not gonna say, like, we've run our own shows, and I'm saying that, like, if you're a con at 4 years old and there's no way to get $6,000 in at least credit,
not a great sign.
No, like, it's like, clearly it's been implied that the hotel, they didn't used to have money asked up front, and this year that they are, and that makes me wonder about, like, how these guys are running their event if the hotel is finally saying, like, okay, we need to change. Usually what happens is you go from an arrangement where they want the money up front to hotels switching to, after that for a while, letting you pay afterwards. Like, that's usually the world you live in, not we started by letting you pay afterwards and now we're making you pay up front. That means the hotel is getting worried about ever getting their cash. Like, that is not good. Like, this is,
it's just one big clusterfargle.
Yeah.
So they are rolling over pre-regs to 2018.
Sure.
And they are refunding. They are refunding if you directly request it. But I'm just saying, guys, if you roll over your pre-reg to 2018, don't expect to have anything. This con is done. Stick a fork in it. It is done. Like,
yep.
If you cancel because of you don't have money, the money tree is not going to come in later and give you more.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. Like, if someone canceled the con because the hotel got wiggy, you know, I'd say the con's going to be back. Cancel a con because the hotel got torn down, con will probably come back. They cancel because they just don't have $6,000 in their budget to pay the hotel.
Wow.
Like, these are, like, I mean, I know, like, $6,000 for most of our listeners, it would be a good chunk of change. But as an organization, if you haven't put that together, if you can't put that together between, like, your whole organization before the event to make sure the event happens,
yeah,
it means you're done. You know, it's like, you know, like, you have my empathy to a degree, but it means you're done. And it is, frankly, a crowded convention market. It's like, like, I know that there is, like, people are, like, fur cons are exploding right now. Like, it was anime cons, like, 5 or 6 years ago, 10 years ago, like, popped up everywhere, and they're still popping up, but I've been noticing, like, an increase in fur cons. Like, I know that there's one that's going to be starting that will take place in the fall at the Kalahari in the Dells. I don't know what it's called yet, but, like, I know that, like, someone who, like, I know Corey Wood is putting that together, who's, like, he's Corey Wood works more cons than he should possibly that he should ever do, and at the end of Anime Apocalypse he was in charge of that, but he was also, like, he was con chair for AmpKey for a long. I don't know if he still is, but he was con chair for AmpKey for a long time. He worked with ASEN. He Ciderville Ponyfest, I think. He also did, like, he's just Corey's everywhere. But he's starting a new furry con in the Dells, and I'm just going like, oh my god, like it like a month off a Daisho con, and there's enough separation between the furry con scene and the anime con scene where, like, the date closeness, I don't think it's going to be an issue, but honest to God, how many freaking conventions does the Dells need? That town has like 2,500 people. Between it and, like, Delton, there's like 5,000 people in that area, and it needs a third con. Jesus, Palomino.
It's getting a little overfilled.
So, all right, yeah, it's. But you know what? Just because you think a con's done doesn't mean it is. That's right, Nick?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes you get cons that they just keep finding ways to continue on, even if they say that that's not how they're continuing on. I remember a while, just this last year, we were talking about a little con called Space City Comic Con, which was getting sued over the name Space City Comic Con. Well, they have rebranded themselves after various weird issues, bad checks.
Well, they forgot that when you're the underdog in a fight, you're supposed to try to still be the good guy in other places. Seriously, go back and search Space City Comic Con and Sons of Anarchy, and just read up what happened at that last Space City Comic Con last year. It is amazing.
It was some nasty stuff, and
Space City Comic Con does not have a good reputation.
Well, without having a good reputation, they did what a lot of cons would do and rebrand, changing their name to Fandom Galaxy. This story gets weird, though, because Fandom Galaxy felt the need to lie about it.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, no, seriously. They decided to make a huge Facebook post saying that they were not Space City Comic Con, that does not exist, and that they were run by a new group of people from out of the state of, as in not from Texas anymore. Except that they announced this on the old Space City Comic Con, social media page.
Yeah, they just renamed the Space City Comic Con social media stuff all to Fandom Galaxy. That's how anybody found out this was happening, was suddenly we all got alerts on Facebook saying, a page you follow has changed their name.
So anyway, sure enough, people did a little bit of research, and and a member of the Facebook group, Rate That Comic Con, pulled up some paperwork from the state of Texas saying that George Comets from Space City Comic Con was still the person in charge of Fandom Galaxy. Now, of course, the company was formed in Delaware, but since a lot of companies form in Delaware for tax purposes, that doesn't really count as out of state. Yeah.
You don't get to claim that you're out of state people when all the people are in the state.
Uh-huh.
But you just formed an LLC in Delaware, which can be done in 10 minutes on LegalZoom.com. Like you do. So it's like, I don't know. This story's just nuts, right? Like, so
yeah, it's just so weird.
Phantom,
it's super duper weird.
and we verified that this paperwork is true. That George Commits. So George Commits or George Comets. I've never known how to pronounce his name. He's the guy that everybody like has a problem with from Space City Comic-Con. Like, if you go back to any of the news articles about Space City Comic-Con, about like the whole thing with him calling the cops on his own guests and all this stuff, and like bad checks and things like that, George Commits is the guy who most people believe was in the wrong. That is, at least that is the reputation going out there. I don't know these people. I've never met any of them. I have apparently talked to somebody on Facebook, but it's like, so we reached out to, like, I contacted Phantom Galaxy because obviously George Commits is signing documents for this company, right? For Phantom Galaxy. So I sent him a message, and they told me that that he is an employee. Well, first off, people were like, well, Phantom Galaxy was claiming they just bought the social media, which, by the way, you can't do that with Facebook page. You can't buy a Facebook page from another company.
Say that's a little ridiculous.
That is against the terms of service. But they were claiming that they bought it, and now then they started saying he was an employee and that they needed that for the social media stuff. And they randomly brought up the fact that he's congestive heart failure, which, I mean, yeah, I feel bad for anybody for having congestive heart failure, but it's kind of outside of anything. Like, no one's saying let's all go to his house and throw rocks at him. You know what I mean? It's like we're saying it's the same company. Well, it's the same people, I should say. Legally, it's a different company. That we know, because it's not Space City Comic-Con LLC. It's Phantom Galaxy. Although Phantom Galaxy technically has a different name, and it's Delaware state registration. Phantom Galaxy is an alias they've registered with the state of Texas for the company. Anyways, but like they're like, he's admitted but so like they confirmed he was an employee, and obviously, like, no matter what, he's a high enough level employee where he can sign legal documents on behalf of the company and has the job title of manager. Whether or not he's the sole person at the top, if the whole reason why you don't want to go to a con is because George Commits is involved with it, or George Comets, however his name's pronounced, if the whole reason you don't want to go to a con is because you don't want to, or give money to a convention is because he's the one involved with it, then Phantom Galaxy, if they ever put on an event, because they haven't announced an event, and I think at this point they never will, just based on the reaction from the fan, population. I think that, like, you wouldn't want to do business with Phantom Galaxy if you don't want to do business with George. It's they also then weirdly, like, they tried to throw a different former Space City Comic-Con person under the bus. Like, they made mistakes to us, but he also told us. But they all told us the real version of events, which includes the theft of the entire cash office receipts by, and then I'm not going to say the name of the person who they accused, and made a lot of the things. But that, like. So I was talking with the Facebook page, so I don't know the name of the person I was talking with on Facebook. I just know it was coming from the official Phantom Galaxy Facebook page. I've had a lot of people asking me about who they were trying to throw into the bus and blah, 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 and I've had to confirm with someone that no, they weren't. Like, someone specifically asked, was it this person? I was like, no. But just because I was afraid someone was going to get beat up. But it all comes down to this fact that, like, if you're a new company from out of state, and why do you give a crap? Like, any like, if you aren't the people involved, you'd be wanting to distance yourself as much from this controversy. You could say that, yes, we've hired George. We want him to, he knows the local scene. We understand that there are some issues and baggage, but we want his experience, working with us, and he is not the one in charge. Like, that's what you say as an official line. But instead, they start like making, and they actually wrote a lot of detailed accusations that I'm not republishing because I can't confirm any of this stuff. Like, we didn't republish. We'd probably be legally fine republishing it, but I really don't feel like making someone else liable for libel. Like, I don't want to be like a witness in a court case in Texas. That is not on my list of things I want to do. But like, they put up this detailed list of accusations that this person who's supposedly not involved in Space City Comic-Con, so like someone who is not supposedly involved with this, gives me this detailed account of all this horrible stuff some other guy did, which many of the facts in their account were I have seen disputed other places, without actually like he must be they must be saying this a lot, because I've seen specific stuff in what they sent me privately refuted without prompting, like elsewhere. So it's like it was just this bizarre thing where they just started to defame this other person at length to a press source. Like, who? Please hire a PR person. If you're going to go back into business running conventions, get a PR person. Get someone experienced in PR to talk to your social media, because you should not be randomly volunteering defamatory statements to a reporter who is writing an article about how you're if I'm writing an article about and I tell you I'm writing an article about how connected you are to this other organization, if you're trying to tell me you're not, stop reinforcing that connection, you dum-dums. Yeah, friggin' dum-dums.
Yeah, this is just such a mess.
Like, it's not just that it's like, it's not just that they ironically, like, if they had just had a different guy sign the paperwork, like, if they had just or even if the company had said, yes, we're a new legal entity, we're a new company, we're some of the same people involved in Space City Comic-Con, we hope to bring a new event, don't mention George directly, but, don't try to conceal his involvement, like, just say, we're a lot of the same people who brought you Space City Comic-Con, even with the bad reputation even with the reputation in the industry that George Commits has, this wouldn't have been a story. No one would have talked about this. No one. And it's that they lied. It's the lying that did it. Like, suddenly there was something to catch them in. And I'm just going, what in sweet harmony is going on?
Right.
Yeah, it's just such a mess.
And we're going to go into another story now about people not being understanding public relations and PR running conventions, and with another Comic-Con right now. And I'm just going, like, again, and my whole message behind the next story is also going to be, hire a PR person. So Jim Burleson is not a stranger to controversy, and he is the operator of several conventions, including Duke City Comic-Con, which happened, I think, last weekend. Last weekend was Duke City Comic-Con. And he just... So, obviously last Sunday was Mother's Day, and Duke City Comic-Con decided to announce a promotion in which that on Mother's Day, with the purchase of an adult pass, mothers get in free. So, if someone who's a mother comes with a friend or anyone who's an adult and an adult badge is bought, the mother would get in free on Mother's Day. It's a simple promotion. It's a nice promotion. It was a good idea. But here's the thing. When Duke City Comic-Con organizer Jim Burleson announced it, he included a sentence after saying, mother's getting free with a paid adult. He included the sentence, bring your kids and a man to buy a ticket, and you are our guests Sunday, May 14th, all day. Now, there's a lot of sensitivity in the con community about sexism, about gender issues, about all this stuff. And most of us are trying to do a better job than we used to. But, so needless to say, people can be it is obvious that when he wrote it, it was meant to be a harmless statement, but there were some people who took issue with it, with the concept of bring a man. Now, I'm not saying that necessarily that this was something worth blowing up about, but some people did.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that'll happen. People misinterpret your messages when you're running a company. It happens, whatever. And
right.
if the convention had then, like, if Duke City Comic-Con organizer Jim Burleson had just posted something like, that's not what we meant, sorry, you know, that wasn't our intention, you know, well, you know, that wasn't what we meant, that wasn't our intention, you know, don't worry, any paid adult, you know, and just clarified the promotion was any paid adult, and, you know, hope to see you there. You know, it's like, that wasn't, like, we weren't trying to be misogynist, we were just, you know, giving an example.
Right.
Right. And so, you know, and yeah, it makes assumptions, and yeah, maybe there is a little bit of subtle misogyny in there, but obviously it wasn't like, but it's an easy PR fix. Like, it's, you made a mistake in your wording where people took it the wrong way, you just clarify it, everybody's happy, you know, except here's the thing. That's not really what happened. So one person who I'm just going to call Catherine throughout this story, that's her first name. We're not going to reveal her full name or anything like that. And we did get permission on our news article from her to republish certain details from this interaction. But Jim Burleson went to both his. So this person, Catherine, wrote a really angry message. Saying, you know, she was going to go to Duke City Comic-Con until she read the Mother's Day bit about bringing a man to buy a ticket. And while I'm used to some degree of misogyny from the Comic-Con community, this was beyond the pale. Please enter the 21st century and realize that women don't need a man to buy them a ticket or anything else. Again, do I think that maybe she was overreacting a little? Man, maybe. But the fact is that when you're running customer service, you're going to get someone mad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and understanding how
That's
to handle...
just inevitable.
And understanding how to handle these situations professionally is really important for anyone running a business. And he did not really handle it professionally. I don't have... I've seen his full response. I don't have it in front of me, but he called her ridiculous and prefer you not attend. He then said the statement, it requires a man to make a woman a mom.
Oh, jeez.
Which is...
Oh, jeez.
Not actually... Then he went, it's bigotry, your tolerance is chafing me. And then our post with the paying adult, and then I have the rest of it's cut off on my screen here, and I could go find the rest, but it's unimportant. And she did respond that she was going to, his first statement, there's an innocent way to take it. Like, but the misogynist and transphobic remarks in his private reply that we only know because because, and I'll get to that in a second, because he shared it, is like there's a lot of transphobia and misogyny in there, and the fact is that, you know, it demonstrably is between trans women who still have functional XY genitalia and or any, you know, number of gender identities, but also combined with the fact that adoption and, you know, frankly, you know, giving birth doesn't make someone a mother, raising a kid does.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just putting that out there. Giving...
Yeah, that is...
It's like...
Yeesh.
Because, yeah, it's like, holy fuck. But, and now, if it was just even that, it would be like just this private response and whatever. But Catherine posted in her response that she was going to spread this far and wide in the private message. Now, mind you, that is a customer's prerogative, but also she didn't. You see, what Jim did was he screen captured this private conversation between a member of the public and his company and reposted it to his Facebook page and to, which was bad enough, but then also posted it to Rate That Comic-Con, one of the biggest convention discussion groups on Facebook.
Classy.
So, yeah. So, needless to say, like, I think he thought he was going to get people to, like, root for him in that, but he got, like, summarily torn apart. He got torn apart, like, rendered limb from limb in that Rate That Comic-Con discussion.
As he should.
But, like, And this is really what it comes down to, is that this person privately contacted a company, and when he shared it, it included her full name and her employer's name in the image. So a company, upon getting negative feedback,
freaking do that.
The owner of a company, after getting negative feedback, publicly shared the identity of a person in hopes to mock the person at the very least, and at the worst, it opens up that person to possible harassment. Now, you can say that, people share conversations with companies all the time, but that's because there's a power dynamic there. A company in this thing with a social media following, especially with Burleson going into what amounts to an industry group and trying to reveal this person's details in a group that she had no idea that this was happening. But it is a public group. This wasn't a private. Rate That Comic-Con is 100% public. If something's discussed in there are private convention industry groups the We Are Vendors and Entrepreneurs Wave, which is just for vendors and has serious rules about sharing information outside of that group. If someone no one's ever done something like this in that group, because I'm in there as a person who vends at conventions. I'm a member of that group, and no one's ever shared this sort of thing in there. But at least in there, there are privacy rules about resharing things from that group outside of it is prohibited. And could get you kicked from that group. This was a very public group, and it's so unprofessional. And so people are mad about the misogyny, but more than anything else, they're mad about most of us are mad about how unprofessional an organization is for a company is, if they are publicly sharing and trying to humiliate members of the public. It is not good.
That's really gross. I've never heard. I don't think I've ever heard of any.
Well, I can tell you.
Every time I think someone running a con can't do something worse, we find a story that just proves me wrong.
Well, if you remember a year ago, when we were talking about Santa Fe Comic-Con and the stupid comments made about cosplayers, the sexist comments made about cosplayers by the owner of Santa Fe Comic-Con, that was also by Jim Burleson, who also owns Santa Fe Comic-Con. And also, right about the same time, he shared an private email from Amy Jo Johnson's agent on the cancellation, in which he shared Amy Jo Johnson's personal detail, her agent's personal details, not the.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Including the personal email address of Amy Jo Johnson's agent. Again, this is not stuff a professional business does, and he's not getting punished for it. There's a certain percentage of the community that is not going to go to his shows, but honestly, we all know for a fact, and we all have this experience, that the vast majority of convention attendees don't read articles about convention organizers.
Right.
We have a readership at Nerd and Tie, which there are a lot of convention attendees who read the stuff, and more often than not, it's getting discussed by vendors, artists, and convention staffers. Those are the biggest segment of readers, and then there's a smaller segment of people who are convention attendees who read those articles. If most convention attendees read the articles written about convention organizers, I know a lot of shows that would have gone under that frankly just haven't. It's there are organizers who, if you Googled their names, you would find some terrible things about them, but people still come to their shows, and it's because people don't research the conventions they go to. And I think it's really important that but the problem is I'm telling our listeners are the people who would look.
You're preaching to the choir, though. You're not, yeah.
That's how you get them to sing. It's so, tell your friends to research the cons they go to. You go to cons. People who listen to our show, you tend to go to cons. I'm betting people who go to cons who don't research the cons they go to. Tell them to. If you know something bad about a convention where the organizer's a shitty person or just general bad stuff, tell your friends to go look them up if you know that they're going to that con. Right? And if the person still wants to go to that con, at least they've done it with an informed decision.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, if they learn that convention organizer Y has done B thing, at least if they go to the con, they've made that decision being conscious of that choice. You know, we need to, like, with the convention industry expanding, we need to, we need to make sure that people are informed, and, like, conventions aren't this magical place where everybody's perfect and great. And obviously there's a huge segment
It'd be nice if they were.
There's a huge segment of attendees that have known that for a long time, but there is another large portion of attendees who are just completely in the dark about it, who just don't know until something bad happens to them. Or there are ones who don't believe it when bad things happen to people they know, and those people are terrible, and there are too many examples of that happening that I don't want to think about right now. But, like, Jesus, fuck, man.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for swearing so much during this story, but, like, Burleson is continuously not getting, like, but here's the thing. I'm going to say this about Burleson, is that, yeah, he's going to have people still going to his shows, but there is a percentage of people who are going to stop. And long-term, these are the people who are going to, like, the long-term survival of the show is going to require the more connected people to keep telling people about your show. The less connected people are not good at bringing in more people to your thing. So, yeah, right now you're doing fine. How are you going to be doing in 10 years? And is this a show that's going to live on past you? And I'm going to say no. No, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
I say when Jim Burleson decides to finally pick a fight with the wrong guy. He killed a dude once. Jim Burleson's got such a weird history. He was in self-defense. He shot a guy, but he did goad the guy on MySpace first into the fight. So I don't know.
Oh dear God.
But I mean, like, the guy didn't have to attack him. I will say that. Like, don't physically attack a dude, and just don't do that. That's just a bad idea to unprovoked attack somebody. But Jim Burleson shot a dude once. That's fact.
We should move on. We're getting way off track.
Mailbag.
Yep. There's some stuff in the mailbag.
Again, take us through the mailbag.
This letter is from Keith Shizuo, and its title is We Need a Happy Medium. Hi, geeks and neckerchiefs. I'm writing to you on the bus on somewhat of a curmudgeonly issue as I listen to this fortnight's episode. I have to turn the volume way up to hear Trey, and then whenever Nick blurts anything out, it blasts in my ear like a blue thunder bomb. It's really bad, I'm sorry.
Wait, Blue Thunder is in the helicopter from the movie Blue Thunder?
I hope so.
God, I hope so.
You guys need Gen's happy medium, or I won't be able to listen to you on the go anymore. Also, a Doctor Who theory I have. The only reason we're seeing the older Cybermen again is because of the fact that they remade a bunch for An Adventure in Time and Space. And they just
oh no, Gen's roboting! Gen, stop being a Cyberman.
There just happen to be a bunch still lying around. For that reason, I hope...
Gen, you there?
Oh no.
Gen?
Cybermen cyberized Gen.
Well,
you roboted out while talking about Cybermen, which was weirdly appropriate.
Yeah, and you're a little frozen. Your face is in kind of the funniest expression right now.
It's kind of tragic. I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, okay. You're doing that on purpose. I was worried you froze too.
Oh yeah, no, I'm goofing around. Oh, now Gen's moving again. All right, Gen.
Okay, yay! Sorry, had to do a quick fix.
Why don't you take it back to also a Doctor Who theory?
Also, a Doctor Who theory I have. The only reason we're seeing the older Cybermen again is because of the fact that they remade a bunch for An Adventure in Time and Space, and there just happened to be a bunch lying around. For that reason, I hope to also see a return to the Web Planet someday. Are there any classic Who stories that you would like to see revisited or reimagined with modern technology, writing, or actors? Keep Crichtoning in the open world. Keith Shizuo, HOA. P.S. Have you seen Red Dwarf 11 yet?
Okay, so there's a lot in this question, and I'm going to start off by
There's a lot.
answering. I'm going to start off by answering his sound question issue. Okay, so I don't know what the heck you're talking about. On sound tests, Nick and I always peak out at the same level. Now, my voice is lower than Nick, so if you were riding on a bus and if there was white noise, again, that would make the bass wash out on you, or maybe your headphones don't have good bass. But try turning up the bass. Now, as for Gen and Nick on the sound mix come in on one channel over Skype, effectively. So Gen and Nick come pre-mixed together, and so I've got to pick a volume level. And so what I do is I tend to, because Gen is just a quieter person, and we made her speak up this episode. We asked Gen to be louder this episode, and I think she has been. Gen, now, it's so, but the fact is that I mix Nick and myself to the same level. Like, I am watching the audio peaks. Like, I'm looking at the dB level of what I spike to, and Nick, you talk.
I am talking like I always do.
I am right now being louder than Nick on every visible meter, but because he has a more tenor voice than I do and comes in more on the treble, and I come in more on the bass, dude, check your EQ.
I am all about the treble.
And Gen being in the if I'm quieter than Gen, which is a statement which has never been said in the history of mankind, if Trey is quieter than Gen, something is wrong with not on our end, because that is just a physical impossibility. But I went and I checked all of our mix settings for this episode. So we asked Gen to be louder. And I turned down all the knobs and restarted the mix from scratch. And so, you'll be happy to know that I listened to you and I tried. But literally everything is right where it should be. So I'm saying it's the bus's fault. Let's move on to Doctor Who, to that part of the question.
I really do like I agree with the theory about the Cybermen costumes that were just lying around. That's just being a smart television producer.
Yeah. I think it's also that maybe there's, I don't know, they might have still done it. Even, obviously they're going to reuse costumes they have. But, it's not like that's an expensive costume to make.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're going to get that authentic look, it's gonna be more work than you might expect. I don't know.
No, it's not a bad theory. I think it's actually entirely possible that they were looking at the costumes and got inspired to write the story just because they were looking at costumes, not because of a financial decision, but hey, wouldn't it be neat if we did this?
Yeah, I can see that.
So what classic stories would you like to see revisited or reimagined with modern technology? That they haven't already done is the real problem.
Every time we do these follow-ups of classic stories, you know what I always feel by the end of them? A deep sense of disappointment and a wish that I could just go watch the classic story again.
Because I'm
not a fan.
Nothing's going to be as good as your 12-year-old memory of something. What did it look like when I was 12? Honestly, what I'm saying is that no matter what they do, when they bring a classic character back, be it the Daleks. Okay, the Daleks actually came back perfectly the first time. You know why? Because they just literally built a Dalek. It's they didn't do anything different. But
here's the thing: Davros stories almost universally get progressively worse, with an exception for Remembrance of the Daleks and The Magician's Apprentice. With an exception for those two, Davros stories just get worse every time you bring him back.
I've just never liked Davros.
Every single time.
I've just never liked him in the first place, so it's kind of...
Yeah, but Genesis of the Daleks, he's a perfect villain. I will argue till the cows come home, he is perfect in that story.
I honestly have never seen Genesis of the Daleks. I've only read like the plot synopsis of Genesis of the Daleks.
I'm judging you right now.
Why are you judging me?
Because I am.
A lot of my classic Who was based on what I could catch on TV as a child on PBS, man. And then you filled in the gaps.
That was the first Tom Baker story I ever watched.
Technically, the first Tom Baker story I ever watched was him regenerating into Peter Davison, but I went back and watched more Tom Baker after that. But it was that was the moment where I'm sitting there with my father, just going, "Oh, this is Doctor Who. You're gonna love this," and then he would like, "Oh, Tom Baker, he's the best," and then he regenerated into Peter Davison with that. Oh, it's this one. It's. But then he explained what regenerating was. And so the first thing I learned about Doctor Who was what regenerations were as a child.
Well, same with me, except my exposure was the TV movie.
That was not a thing that existed at the time. This was the 80s. But anyways, so it's, you know what it is that I don't want more classic stories. Like, we've gotten a bunch. Like, and we've gotten, I think the classic stories that endure, we've already seen remade. Like, the ones that, like, yeah, so we can, like, I don't care if we never see Davros again, but I like the Daleks came, like, I think the series 1 episode Dalek episode, which I think is the 6th episode of Eccleston's series, is, in my opinion, one of the best just hours of television that's been made.
Oh yes, definitely.
It's definitely, it is 100% the best Dalek story that we've gotten in the new series. I haven't seen every Dalek story from the old series for me to really have a full like opinion of that. But I can say out of the new season, out of the revived series, Dalek is the best use of the Daleks that we've ever had. It's genuinely scary. It is deep. It gives a depth to both the Dalek and it adds depth to the Doctor. It's an altogether solid episode. And I like the alternate Earth Cybermen. I'm happy to see Monda's Cybermen. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to minimize that, but I think that the way they introduced the concept of Cybermen to a new audience and updated that in that story, that even I think that by making it clear that it was a different set of Cybermen than in the original also helped that story because it allowed them to do a Cybermen origin story without breaking canon.
Then the Mondas origin is a little complicated nowadays, since the planet Mondas was destroyed in the far-off future of 1985.
It's. But so
remember when the Cybermen tried to invade Earth in 1985?
Yeah. Yep. I think Gen's frozen and we hadn't noticed. Well, okay, so Gen, we can still hear Gen, but Gen's like.
Yeah, my internet's been wonky.
Everybody look down at your microphone.
It's not my microphone.
All right, so it's... Anyways, but I'm glad you're still here again. Even if your video's frozen. But so, like...
Yep. Oh, yeah. I've been here.
Okay. So let's keep going. But so that's why I'm like... I can't think of... Oh, no, again, moves again. The instant I say that. I don't think that there's, like, any classic stories that we haven't seen again that I really want to left, because I think that a lot, like it's not like you can do a new Pyramids of Mars, which Pyramids of Mars is my favorite classic serial. It's just,
I mean, I guess
like,
arguably
it's a lot of people's,
Sutak is still around. You could bring him back, but then you have that other. You're risking that bringing back the character will lead to a disappointing...
Well, and also, arguably, there is a chance that Sutek is the same character from the Devil in the Satan Pit. Voiced by the same guy, the same concept. Like, and again, it's the same voice. It's...
Everyone just kept thinking he was the devil.
But, like, so I'm just... Like, well, because Sutek is supposed to be a devil-like figure, so that's why I'm like, I don't want to see these things brought. Like, I'm fine with the amount of stuff they've already brought back. I mean, it's God's sakes, we're gonna get more Ice Warriors this season. Like,
I kind of dig the Ice Warrior.
I know,
yeah, but I think that's my other thing. With an exception for the Master, I'm fine with species being brought back, but characters and concepts that were villains before just kind of don't work for me.
Well, because there's so few standout characters from those. I mean, Davros is really the only exception. Like, Davros and the Master are the two characters who have already been brought back in the new series that they're really the only individual villains that I can really think of. That, like, you know, everyone else was, yes, there's an individual villain for that serial, or, you know what I mean, for that thing, but there weren't, like, I mean, I guess, like, the
monk was a recurring character, the Ronnie.
As we literally, well, no, it's we said the monk together. And other Time Lords.
Toy Maker.
Like, the Ronnie and the monk are the two that I can think of with, like, evil Time Lords, and the monk got retconned into a Time Lord. Like, it's... Yeah, it's I don't know. Anyway, so, and for Red Dwarf Season 11, I forgot when it came out, and so I haven't watched it yet, and I know it's out there.
Still haven't watched it.
Like, it took so long to get made that I just haven't had a chance. I want to.
There's so many other things on my plate. Like, Eric went and finished the second season of The Get Down without me, so I gotta catch up on that real quick.
Oof. I still haven't watched any of that.
I have not watched that.
Oh, it's so excellent. It's so good. Oh, it breaks your heart. It's so good.
I'm meaning to watch it. Looks really good.
I haven't watched
It's really
that.
good.
So, yeah. So why don't you read the next letter, Nick? Because we took a long time
all
on
right.
that one.
So our next letter is from Random Ramblings Man. Good evening to the lot of ya, you wonderful nerds. I hope this past fortnight was kind to you all. I still have not seen Guardians Volume 2, but I hope to soon. I also intend to keep a close eye on the Against Tips column in the near future. Her column on cons was quite the read. Against Tips is a great article series, by the way. I'm looking forward to more.
Thank you. I just started it.
Go right now.
And if you guys haven't checked it out, go to the website because you can catch up really quick right now.
Since there's only one installation so far.
Yep.
Get in at the bottom floor, you guys. Anyway, in the meantime, I'm here to give my take on Alien Covenant, which has been one of my most expected films of the year. To say I was disappointed would be an understatement. This managed to knock the live-action Ghost of the Shell out of the worst of 2017
Oh, that's
slot.
not fair.
Ouch. With its poorly sketched and idiotic characters, profoundly unintentional moments of hilarity that were meant to be when we're meant to be terrified, and other problems related to effects, dialogue, and continuity regarding the franchise's timeline and the Alien life cycle. It's a waste of good talent, and it makes me wonder whether Ridley Scott returning to the Alien franchise was a good idea in the first place.
So,
ouch.
So I'm going to respond to this part of the letter right now because I saw Alien Covenant last night. I did. Went out to the drive-in, and I braved a tornado warning to see Alien Covenant. We got to the drive-in. We were 5 minutes away from the drive-in, and because we go to a drive-in that's about a half hour away from where we live right now. And when we got there, we got the tornado warning, and if we just had to, we couldn't drive home because we would have been on the open highway then when the tornado was when the sighted storm was going to hit us. So it was actually safer to go to the drive-in, where there's brick buildings that you could take shelter in.
Right. I just love the phrase "safer to go to the drive-in."
I know. But so I saw Alien Covenant. I braved the storm broke north of town, so I was fine. But literally when I say north of town, I mean like if we'd been 2 miles north, we would have been hit by it.
Ouch. Not
the tornadoes, the storm that was creating the tornadoes.
Right.
I don't know where the tornadoes hit. I have not checked the news. I just know they weren't where I was. But so I say Alien Covenant, and the effects look fine. I don't know what you're talking about with effects problems, man. I just it's the I don't want to spoil too much with the movie, but the Alien life cycle stuff actually has never made any sense, starting with the second movie. The Alien life cycle has never made any sense. Actually, the implications of the engineered nature of the life form actually make way more sense than anything naturally occurring. I will say that my one comment is that I don't think the characters were actually that bad when you take a look at the context of what they knew. I think it was a little overly dark. By necessity, I think that it would have been more accurately titled if it had kept the title of Prometheus 2 instead of being renamed Alien, because while there are a lot of aliens in that movie, it feels like Prometheus more than it feels like Alien. Like, it's a continuation of the story from Prometheus. Like,
right.
it's a direct continuation of the story from Prometheus. It's not... And while aliens... Like, while there is a xenomorph, and, like, you know, and there are the neomorphs, like, it's not, like, they're not, like, they are a threat in the movie, but they are not the threat in the movie. I don't want to spoil, but that is not the thing that, like, so, like, it was a movie with it was a Prometheus sequel. It was, like, which is what it was supposed to be. So I think calling it Alien Covenant was the mistake. I think it should have been Prometheus 2. And
that might have been a studio thing, I'm willing to bet.
It was. It was supposed to be Prometheus 2 Paradise Lost.
Right.
And it became Alien Covenant. And it's... So... But so I disagree with you on the quality. I think it was actually an okay film.
I will say that the worst movie this year is actually King Arthur: Legend of the Sword, which is an amazing movie. It's really bad, but it's also amazing.
I have no judgment on that. I have not seen that.
No one has seen it.
Well, it's because they put it out at the same time as Guardians. Like, I've seen Guardians of the Galaxy twice now.
They made Mordred, who
I've seen King Arthur 0 times.
Who, depending on the version of the King Arthur myth that you're reading, is either his illegitimate son or his nephew, or both.
I think sometimes he's his brother.
What?
Sometimes Mordred is his brother.
Oh, I've never read one where he's his brother.
Yeah,
that's weird. But anyway,
he's usually his son.
A completely unrelated wizard who was active while Arthur was still a child and was killed before Arthur ever touched a sword.
What?
Yeah. And that's just the beginning.
All right.
Guinevere is a mage.
I guess.
All
right. Sure.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. It was like it was akin to if you fell asleep watching Lord of the Rings and then woke up and someone was playing Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance and then you fell back asleep and you kind of combined them in your head. That would basically be what it was. I'm not even kidding.
Oh my god.
So that is my vote for worst movie so far. Anyway, going back to the thing. Speaking of things I hoped wouldn't disappoint me, I finally got around to watching the trailer for Star Trek Discovery. And I wasn't terribly impressed with that one either. Jeez, dude, you're just
hating shit.
Tearing apart things. The aesthetics are all out of step with continuity. Dutch angles all over the place like in Battlefield Earth. And the Klingon makeup looks like a fan film hack job. Ouch!
Wow.
Wow. I mean, I make fun of stuff all the time.
The aesthetics are not out of step. That's what we just like. Okay, so if it's 2240s, the aesthetics are really in line with the 2230s aesthetics already established in the franchise with the beginning of Star Trek 2009, and those aesthetics would have been in place in the Prime universe.
Normally, I feel like I'm the negative one. This is... I really hoped I could be on board with this series, but the trailer, for the time being, I just can't see that happening. Ouch.
Wow.
Right. On the plus side...
I'm just going to throw stuff at Random Ramblings Man over the internet.
You're starting a paragraph of on the plus side with Riverdale. I don't believe you. Anyway, on the plus side, Riverdale Season 1 finished up, and it's still the best bad television show I've watched this year. I'm surprised I had as much fun as I had, and I might be down with watching Season 2, God willing.
Y'all are so negative on Riverdale, but okay, so I'm finally going to sit down and watch it. I got behind on Riverdale just because I had too much stuff going on, and then episodes fell off the CW app, so I couldn't catch up. And now that it's on Netflix, I'm going to sit down and watch the rest of the season, and I was enjoying it. I've heard really good things from lots of people.
Have you heard tremendous things from people? Just how huge it is?
No, and I could start citing specific people who I know are fans, but that's I'm just saying that if I was gonna go with the majority minority opinion, you and Random Ramblings Man, Nick, and your wife, also you three hate the shit out of that show.
I have never met anyone. I've had the opposite experience. I have not met a single person who likes this show. I haven't met a single person.
I like it. You've met me. You've met my
wife.
Well,
I mean, other than you. In my few, admittedly small group of people who I hang out with or talk to, I have not met these people.
Again,
I don't meet people who like Riverdale.
Again, have you watched Riverdale?
No.
So go. It's on Netflix. Season 1's on Netflix. Go watch Riverdale, and then you're gonna have to be the tiebreaker on the show as to whether or not the show is good or not. Because I think it's good. Nick hates it, and obviously we're talking to very different groups of friends. Where I'm getting this positive reaction and Nick's getting this negative reaction. So you need to go watch it and tell us whether or not you like it. It's on Netflix.
Watches I like part of it, but I don't like part of it. And I'm kind of okay with it. I'm just
but you know what? I think that would be fine. Because I say good, Nick says bad. If you say okay, then the decision is that it's somewhere in the middle and we're all wrong.
I made a video on the Nick Izumi Facebook page where I talk about
there
are elements of the show that could go somewhere, except they're not the elements they chose to focus on.
You made a video on a page exclusively followed by people who have the exact same opinions as you, and they happen to agree with the opinion?
People don't have the exact same opinions as me on my Facebook. I get people arguing with me about all sorts of stuff.
How many of them have watched Riverdale?
I don't know. I don't often talk about Riverdale other than that video, because guess what? I don't spend a lot of my limited free time on things that I hate.
Finish reading the letter.
Anyway.
We're getting long, so finish reading the letter. As much as I'd love to keep arguing about this.
Mailbag is less cheery than previous ones. It might be best to get it out of the way and let something sunnier through afterward. Hopefully the next one won't be quite a downer.
Random Ramblings Man.
Stay random, my friends.
Random Ramblings Man, you sent your email in 5 minutes before we were going to start recording, and we read the emails always in order of receipt. So you were going to be the last one no matter what. I didn't even get a chance to read your email when I threw it into the rundown. I just figured it was going to be full of something that we'd argue about, so it would be a good show.
That's how we do it in the Bronx, where I am from.
You just said you were from Plover.
Wouldn't you like that to be true?
I don't really have a lot invested in it.
Pea lover.
I'm just all about maintaining canon and continuity, Nick. If I can't keep your canon right, I'm gonna have to retcon something, and it'll just work. All right, so moving on to our final segment of the show, it is time for the Vomit Hat Steve Challenge. Dun dun dun. Dun. Vomit Hat Steve, Vomit Hat Steve. It's a challenge that has nothing to do with him. He's a real guy. All right, so the Vomit Hat Steve Challenge, which literally has nothing to do with the guy named Vomit Hat Steve, although he is a real person. Go look him up. Buy Blue Matches CDs. They're very good. Buy his other band CDs if you want to listen to other things also. But, again, the Blue Matches ones are really good. Anyways, what the challenge is that at every episode is I read part of a book. And the challenge to you, the listener, is to guess what book I've been reading from. If you guess correctly, you get included in the Hall of Awesome. The benefits of the Hall of Awesome are as follows. You get your name listed on our website in the Hall of Awesome. We read your name aloud every episode, and that is it. those are the only things you get because, again, this is a stupid little thing that we do that is a thing. That was my worst explanation of it, but it was good enough. And good enough is our standard here at Nerd and Tie. The current members of the Hall of Awesome are as follows. Archimide, Zero, Ren Innocenti, Cheesy McDammy, Krista, Slithery, Shameless Otaku, The Random Ramblings Man, Corfan, Capito, Chris Graham, Lillisaurus, Paper Godzilla, Cavsy, The Minnesota Librarian, Sean Orange, and Keith Shizuo. Now, I've been reading from this book for a little bit, and I'm going to continue to read from this same book, and I will say the words as soon as I open up a page. It is just off camera for you video viewers, because I'm not going to be dumb and hold the book up. Did that once. And your line is, I would never try to kill... I screwed up the line. We gotta try that again. We're gonna try that line again. I would never kill you. If you know what book that's from, go to nerdandtie.com/contact, click on the little form there, and tell us. Or if you have anything else you'd like to tell us, words to say, things to do, dreams to have, what you ate for lunch, what you ate for breakfast, what you think Gen should start eating for lunch, breakfast, and dinner every day for 6 weeks a year, and for Nick, what he should shave into the back of his head when he gets his cool new fade before next episode, because that's totally something that's happening and not something I just made up. Yeah. Get you all, get you like the kid and play, the vertical, anyway, the flat top vertical. Anyways, just go to nerdandtie.com/contact, fill out the little formy form, and tell us, give us your words in your mouths, and I don't know why the words are in their mouths. Tell us your thoughts, and we want to hear from you.
Release the words from your mouth.
We like to hear from you. Isn't that right, Gen?
Yep. That's right. Meow, that's right.
I think that a really long show, which with a low number of topics, and there were things I thought about inserting if we had time, but I didn't because we ran super long with the stuff we had. I think we should probably slowly back out the door at least, Gen, right?
That's a wrap.
Yeah. And I'm Gen Proc.
I'm Trey Dorn.
And I'm Nick Izumi.
And remember, you can subscribe to Nerd and Tie on Stitcher. You can subscribe to it on Google Play. You can subscribe to it on iTunes. You can subscribe to it with anything that can take an RSS feed. Just go to nerdandtie.com and get all that goodness into your life on a fortnightly basis, which is how we do this, which is how we mix this, how we play this. Also, you can watch our video version at youtube.com/Traygorn, and that's also where all of our other video content that we put out, like 3D Oh No, when those new episodes, unless it's a video by Nick Izumi, and those will be over on his channel at youtube.com/Nick Izumi. You can support the show either by sponsoring it, by going to the sponsor information on the website, going to our GoFundMe at gofundme.com/nerdandtie, or you can support Nick and myself via Patreon. Nick's Patreon is patreon.com/Nick Izumi. My Patreon is patreon.com/Traygorn, Traegorn, just to confuse you and make things special. If you want to buy stuff from Gen to help her support herself, just Google Ocelot, dude. She's got the Society 6 thing and, I don't know, the Etsy stores.
I've got a bunch of stuff.
Bunch of stuff.
Look at it.
Buy it. Go get it. She makes wonderful pillows and things and other designs and art and things that you can have and put on your walls, put around your house. And remember, you can do all of this in your dreams, in your heart, in where you are at the least, in the most time of your life. And always be your best self. Never be your worst self unless you really feel like it and you're having that kind of a day, and then just you do you as you can, as you will can, never can, cannot, have not, been not. Say your catchphrase, Nick.
Keep on spocking in the free world!
And remember, there will always be a dance party in your brain. Unless there's not. And then, sound the alarm.